Chapter 6 Grim Tidings. In the dark forests, within the silent night, Odmir broke bread with the bandits that called themselves Ador and Bajor. They traded tales and songs with each other, and learned of one another's pasts as the fire betwixt them was kept aflame. "So it was," said Bajor, "that thy father, Giborn, sent us forth into the forest to search for you. He forewarned us not to return without you. So my father sent you too in search of me, in place of better men?" said Illorn. "Hey, now, watch your tongue. I've gutted curlish boys like you over a loaf of bread. And have you gutted a man, or tried you and failed? Or did you flee hence like spooked horses?" Bajor rose, and his wrath grew in this standing height, though Illorn was not afraid. "I say you again, boy, He thereupon saw the arm of Odmir bracing back Illorn. The old man would have fought to the death to keep him alive. Bajor could see it in his eyes, for they looked upon him with enmity and disdain. What so? Bajor sat again and resumed his sup, which had begun to grow cold. "Still your tongue, Illorn," demanded Odmir. "These men are dangerous, though lame they seem." "And so for their dangerous mode we must pay them respect and give them our meals?" asked Illorn. Odmir looked deeply into his eyes and saw the anger within him, for he knew it well within himself. "Do not pay him heed, I pray you, O Bajor and Ador. He has suffered a great loss this eve. Do not let his sadness seem to you as anger." The fire between them then popped and let loose a gush of embers as burnt kindle gave way to ash. Ador put down his bowl and sat still for some moments, contemplating the terrible things he erewhile witnessed. "Do you grieve the death of your train?" he asked Illorn. "Know you of it?" I do," said the bandit. "Do you?" Odmir intervened for Illorn. "We saw the carnage that was done unto those men. We need not hear more of it." "Nay, tell me," said Illorn. Bajor chuckled. "Very well," said Ador. "I shall tell you what I know." Odmir sat back and wiped his face, leaving oils and grease from his meal upon his skin. "Only turn your ear, and I will stop, but do not interrupt me. So it was, thy father sent me, Ador, and my brother Bajor into the Willowwrack at darkness to hunt for you and your friend, who is now asleep. We knew well of thy father's wrath, for it is great, and for so we thereupon abandoned the quest he vouchsafed unto us, and took upon our own, to flee the forests of Aullen and find an asylum. We also knew that chancing upon you was not likely, even though we shared the same path, for there was little doubt that you were still alive. So we fared until the sound of owl was heard, whereupon we made camp for the night, not sure of our own survival. I can tell you more of this tale, of what we haunted and ate, but I shall not, and instead give you what you're in want of learning. We became lost in the confusion of these dark and untrodden woods, for fell sounds and owl songs scared us off our path. Our sense of direction left us, and we came upon our train just ere they were attacked. But we did not approach them. Now we turned back into the Willowwrack. A great shadow eclipsed the morning star, and all light was gone. All eyes went towards the beauteous ether that was hid, and forthwith great fear issued unto us all. I wish to describe to you the beast shape, though doing so would cause me illness. But I can tell you, it was the king of owls, Aullen himself. And from his terrible form came his kith, kin, and children in a 10-score sum that meant death and disarray. No man would ever brave that beast, so great and terrible, and no soul would ever dare utter its name if they had seen its horrible shape, save I. Now, I can tell you, of all the battles I've seen, and of all the blood I have shed, But even if I had the words of a poet and the evil courage of the eighth, I could not describe to you the dark ways these men were killed. Those men whose cries yet shouted for me to hearken and heed with tears that I still shed in the midst of my dreams. Verily, some men spoke clearly, but ere their final words were spoken, their gutturals were flooded with blood that they then spat and spattered down to the earth. Their words were terrible, and I wished to unhear them. But of the great beast that first came, who was Aullen, I saw little. But by mine account, I witnessed the beast issue from the heavens and topside our wagon. But that's not all. These words may come grim to you. The king of owls took your father, Illorn, though he did not eat him or drop him, I think. Nay, your father was taken by Aullen's talons and was hoisted yonder into further hence lands that I shall never dast tread. Be it day or night, I shall not even look off into that direction. Now, I pray you, Illorn, forgive me, for my tale was more grim than I wish it to have been spoken, but it is the truth that you must hear if you wish to free yourself from the burden of not knowing the true account of your father's end. For many minutes Illorn did not speak, nor did he feel the hand of Oddmere upon his shoulder. He arose, and at last he said, "If you speak verily, then I thank you. I now regret my harsh words to you and to your brother, but I pray my pardon. I must relieve myself, for I have drunken much and ate well." Illorn walked then behind a great elm in a forest of pine and mourned silently. As the morning star rose and bequeathed the lands their due warmth, Illorn woke to find Emilay's uncle skinning a coney before a pot, and a cooking pot, mind you, not his chamber pot as afore. For the first time since they had left Hushire, Emilay had woken afore Illorn had. "I bid you good morning," said Oddmere. "I trust you slept well." "Why did you not wake me?" said Illorn. "We thought you needed your sleep," answered Emilay. "You were up late, as I was told. We wished to not disturb you." "Are you mad?" Illorn curled his fingers into a fist. "The longer we're without a roof above our heads, the greater our chances of being killed or seen by owls." Oddmere cut his rabbit into squares, and without word put them to boil. He turned to Illorn. "Trust me, son of Giborn, the owls know well of us. This is their home, after all. Have you ever once been home and not realized someone has just trespassed it, either welcome or unwelcome?" Illorn did not answer. "It is much the same for them, the owls. They knew of you and me long before we even left my cave." "Then why do we live? Why have they not swarmed upon us and killed us?" Ador and Bajor appeared from the bowers behind Illorn with roots and gave them to Oddmere. Bajor dropped his bow, and Oddmere looked upon it for a while ere he gave his answer. "Illorn, you have yet shown me your skill with bow and arrow. Know you how to hunt game, track men, or even use your sword?" asked Oddmere. Illorn relaxed his grip. "My father showed me how to use the bow, but I have never hunted, though I have slain doe by accident twice before." "Then show me," said Oddmere. "And you as well, Emilay. It is important that you learn how to use your blade and arrow, if you do not mind granting me the use of your weapon, Bajor." "Aye, you may, but only if we leave soon. I don't think we're friends, for we still hold you lives against you if you do not wish to show the path out of this place." "The true path is west," answered Oddmere. "You may go now without me if you wish, but a bandit so willing to spare his weapon to his captive is one I have yet seen." Illorn held his bow firmly and drew it to his ear. He inhaled, and as his bow came to be fully extended, he released, smiting a tree with a swift dart. Emilay, however, had never held a bow before, nor wished to ever do so again. "Must it hurt my fingers so?" he complained. "I think they're turning purple," he gasped. "Will they fall off, uncle?" Oldmere let forth a frustrated sigh. "They will not fall off, but I will cut them off if you don't quit acting so lame." Emilay released his arrow just so that the string cut his forearm and thumb. He winced, dropping the weapon, though the dart had flown less than 2 far. Oldmere plucked it from the earth and saw that the feathers had been damaged from Emilay's gripping them. The fat boy buckled over his hurt arm and began to sob. "Oh, it bit me," he said. "Fool, you must be gentle and patient. Hold her steady in your arms, and do not grip the feathers as one might pull a child's hair." Emilay threw the weapon to the ground. "I've always hated these things," said he. "Father always called me lame, and everyone points at me for being fat and loud. Why must I learn the bow like Illorn? Perhaps I only wish to stay home and knead dough nigh a warm hearth. Perhaps it is that not all men are made for this." He'd have seemed more convincing if there hadn't been snot dribbling down his nose. "But Emilay," asked his uncle, "if this is your wish, then why did you come with Illorn to do these things? You shall die here if you have no skill in self-defense." "Then I shall die," shouted Emilay. "I rue coming hither, and I shall rue faring thither. But I tell you, I also rue my lame body, and I rue my bald head. I rue my fat and lack of skill in all things. But these things I have no control in. I rue it all. I rue it, I rue it, I rue it." Emilay turned, crying and sobbing, into the linens. Illorn had never felt so guilty. "And so this is the evil craft of this forest at work, Illorn. Men come here to die or go mad with grief until they submit themselves to their deaths." Illorn did not pay him heed, and instead ran after his friend. He dropped his bow, and swift as an arrow he flew past Ador and Bajor. He leapt like Cunny over felled tree and stone, shouting the name, "Emilay, Emilay!" but to no avail. In a great pant he stopped his sprint and looked yonder past the hither end of a soft kill. There he saw his friend feeding the stream with woe and tears. Ignoring the great swiftness of his friend, Illor sat beside him and consulted him. "Oh, Emilay, I am sorry." And forthwith he too wept, for his soul was too still rent and wrack. "All has gone awry. Oh, forgive me, oh Emilay." Emilay turned to him with tears flowing over his round cheeks. "I prithee do not ask for my forgiving. These days have been hard for the both of us. But I say thou, I wish to return home. I do not care if a soul thinks less of me for my cowardice, for I have been lame my whole life, and already I am thought little of. For even within the kitchen that I long for I am unwanted. I eat their dough, and I burn their bread. In truth, I am a man made only to feed the earth with my corpse when death comes to me. It's a cruel thing, truly. This world of which we live upon grooms us and raises us only to eat us as carrion, like the evil bird or hound that feeds only upon the flesh of dead. And as is life. I'm not wanted here. I'm simply a cattle to this world. Illorn then hugged Emilay, kissed his brow, and held his cheek to his. Their tears crossed streams. In that place they sat silently for a long while, heedless of what so danger they were in. The small stream before them gurgled and carried small sticks and leaves down its path, while light foam bubbled about its edges. A small bird of sunlight color then landed on a moss-wreathed stone and peered at them, curious of their being there. "What a terrible thing to say," said Illorn. "Never say it again, or I shall be forced to remind you how beautiful this place is, regardless of the danger it houses." He then stood and gazed at the sun for a time. It was noon. "But for thee, I too will leave, if it is what thy want. I brought you hither, and I shall take you back thither, with Ador and Bajor, as they too wish to flee this place." Emilay joined him in looking upon the cruel earth. "This means that we shall be traitors to our house. I don't think that such a thing is formidable or easy." "It matters not," said Illorn. "You are here on my account, and are in my service. I may pardon you whensoever I please, I think. But in time I shall return here. I don't think my father is dead, but if he is, I will kill the bird that slew him. And if it was a man that caused his death, then I shall kill him as well. This I will do, with or without you. If I die, then I will die happily, so long as you are safe and without hurts caused by my selfish wanting." Then Illorn stood, and his shoulders squared. His tears dried, and he adjusted his clothing to fit more tightly round his form. "I will slay Aullen, if it is what I must do, and I shall be as Fafnir and Melissa, and trek the virgin grasses of this place to the edge of all corners of the world, if that is where I must go. But that is all, for now. We must return to Oddmere ere it is dark, Emilay." Now let us return to the story of Oddmere just as Illorn fled from him, heedless of his words. Oddmere ran after him at first, but stopped, for he no longer had the litheness of a young man. He shouted, "Illorn, do not go yonder, thither. Turn back, Illorn, Emilay." And though his attempt was vain, he did so again thrice times more. But when he at last admitted his failure, he cursed harshly, so that even Bajor and Ador felt the sharp cut of his words. "You two are truly useless. Why did you not thwart their pace? I say you, lead us from this place. We care not for your childish friends." "Silence!" shouted Oddmere at Bajor. "Have I not given you my troth to deliver you from these forests? My time is not on your account. I may be old, but still methinketh you twain a weak match to my skill, be it one of you at a time or together. Now, if you wish to leave this place, then follow me. Carry the things of Illorn and Emilay for me, for I require my skill in tracking them." Without heed of their refusal, Oddmere followed Illorn's path, and Bajor and Ador went along as bade. The trail Oddmere followed was loud and clear. Many things were disturbed from Illorn's and Emilay's sprint, for so they were as easy to track as a bleeding heart in snow. Though, despite this, the running off was foolish, as Oddmere had known men who had disappeared into these woods only to never be seen again. And so, Oddmere followed a trail of broken branches and disturbed earth, though he did not again shout their names, for in that place the voice travels far for all to hear. When he stopped to look yonder, he heard again the familiar sound of footsteps through bramble. Said he, "Hey, Bajor and Ador, come out thither and stay within my sight." "Aye, but Oddmere, we have treaded behind you this entire time," said Ador. Wherefore Oddmere turned and saw him and his brother. Again the noise in the wood spoke, and they turned to it with drawn bow and sword. Illorn and Emilay crossed the stream again, and were at peace to return to their camp. The day was long, though it was the most tranquil noon they had known since they left Oddmere's cave. The air was still, and the ground was cold and soft. The ether above them bore only few clouds, and the morning star shone above them with a great warmth that let them forget of the owls. Emilay spotted a doe and cunny yonder him, peering at him with equal curiosity. But when he pointed in their direction, they fled far and fast, as is the wont of such animals. "This place," said Illorn, "has never known our kind." "Nor do the beasts, I guess," said Emilay. A gaggle of small birds gathered like fall leaves on the ground and drank from a small pool of rainwater. Emilay went to them and was amazed to see that they were not afraid of him or Illorn. They simply sat and drank, sang, and hopped to and fro. Their world was blissful and filled with errands no man could know. Illorn shrugged, peering down at his reflection. He realized he had not bathed in many days. His face was muddied, and his auburn hair had turned a dirty brown with sweat and grease. "I do not know," he answered, "but in truth I have never tried." "Neither have I," answered Emilay, "but quite frankly, I dast say I too heavy to fly." Illorn smiled and gazed deeply into the eyes of his friend. "I'm happy you've decided to return home, Emilay, for I too have grown homesick and weary of this place." He returned his gaze to the gaggle of small orange birds and resumed a tranquil mode as he watched them fly off without indication. Therewith a cold breeze pushed past their necks, and the still pond became disturbed with small ripples. The ground before them became gray, and the light of the sun obscured again with a fell mist. From the forest a panicked whisper came. "Illorn! Illorn!" it said. Emilay and Illorn arose, casting their gazes whithersoever the sound was come. "Illorn! Illorn!" it said again. "Father!" shouted back Illorn. An arrow darted through his leg, and he fell forth onto the pond before him. Its purity became sullied in a mist of blood. "Illorn, run! Do not stay! Run!" Oddmere then came from the bower bound in rope. He was accompanied by Ador and Bajor and 5 other men and 1 woman. They were travel-weary, but by their accoutrements Illorn knew they were not bandits. On their heads they wore green bands with the sigil of the house embroidered. "Raise your hands and do not flee," said the woman, "or I shall ruin the leg that has not been made lame." Illorn fell for the loss of litheness in his right leg. Seeing the arrow in his flesh made him feel ill. "Run, Illorn, you fool!" again said Oddmere. Illorn did not heed his words, and instead looked up at the woman. He felt his hands being pinioned behind him as an arrow was drawn an inch from his forehead. Again the woman spake. Her words were rough and without grace. "Surrender yourselves, betrayers of the Arnott house." From his heart he felt a grim doom issue forth. He accepted his death was nigh, and let a single tear fall before him.